Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Veronica, your holistic and functional medicine pharmacist, and we're back for another Feel Good Friday. And again, I have Quyen Johnson, nurse practitioner from One Family Clinic. And as promised, we're back and we're going to talk about the lifestyle pieces that you can use to help lower your blood pressure or prevent yourself from developing high blood pressure. Because even if you have heart disease that runs in your family, you are not destined by your genes. It's pretty exciting that based on the food choices and the movement choices, and even some of the stress and emotional choices that you make in your life can help to prevent from having heart disease, because we can alter our genetic expression. Just because we have those bad genes doesn't mean we have to turn them on with our choices. So tell us your favorite tips for the lifestyle pieces for heart health.
I usually tell my patient, the best time to do any kind of exercise is probably early in the morning before everybody in your household wake up, before get to work and get stressed out. Just save some time for yourself in the morning and, get some exercises in. And I think that is the best time for it. Also because, some people will work all day and then by the end of the day, we get tired. We don't want to get exercise done. And then that makes it harder for us to get started. So that's one of the other reasons I think, if we can do it early in the morning before everything else, then we have the best chance of success.
Very good. And what type of movement practices do you recommend for your patients?
I usually recommend, the type of exercises that, that your body can handle. Like if you have knee pain or knee problems, and maybe, swimming will be good for you, if the weather permits, or, so it's, if you can get on the treadmill or running a bike, anything like that is fine. Um, and usually we recommend that you have at least 150 minutes of exercise in a week, so whatever you can get in and do, it will be all right.
And that 150 minutes of exercise can be any way that you want to slice it. Ooh, and instead of exercise, I like to say movement, because I think of exercise as something not always fun to do. So movement is something that I enjoy, and you can get movement, 150 minutes of movement that you enjoy. So it can be dancing, it can be gardening, it can be walking. It doesn't have to be exercise. You don't have to go to the gym and lift weights. If you're gardening and you're hauling big bags of topsoil, that's some weight bearing exercise that's good for your bones. And it's also good for our blood sugar. Movement helps us move blood sugar from our bloodstream into our muscles, so it's not hanging out, causing us problems. High blood sugar is a huge contributor to heart disease. In fact, heart disease and diabetes go hand in hand. And everything that you do to protect your heart, you're also doing to help bring down your blood sugar levels too. So it's double bonus.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how you mentioned movement. It's like taking the stigma off the exercise, because I think a lot of people when they hear exercise they get stressed out already.
Yeah, we want it to be
That's
fun,
very good.
and it can look different for each of us. Find something that you love to do and move your body. Movement keeps us young. It's one of the best medicines that we have. It's been said, I don't know who said it, but they said, we have the fountain of youth. We know this thing that reverses disease, maintains our muscle mass, keeps our hearts healthy, and nobody wants to do it because we can't put it in a pill. And this thing is movement. So move your body, move it more. And if you can, bring up the intensity level just a little bit, because we do want our heart to work a little bit. It's a muscle. And so we want it to do a little bit more work so that it stays strong. So when you're moving your body, there's a test to see if you're helping to use your heart a little bit more. And that test is to sing. If you can sing while you're doing your movement practice or your exercise, whatever you want to call it, if you can sing, you might want to work just a little bit harder to help give your heart a boost. But if you can talk, you're in a good zone where you're working hard, but it's not too much. Now, if you can't sing, excuse me, if you can't talk and you're breathless, you might be working too hard. So keep that in mind, that using your voice while you're moving can give you a measure of how you're doing. So if you can sing, try to step up your level of activity, do a little bit more, and get into that range where you could still talk but not be breathless.
Thank you. That's a very awesome tip.
Thank you. And I have something that I'd like to offer both of our patients. I have some very gentle yoga practices in a chair recorded for people who have mobility challenges or aches and pains that prevent them from doing other types of activities. Or maybe they think that yoga is only for really young and flexible bodies. And that's not true. Yoga is not just movement practices. The postures that you see are called asanas, and that's just one tiny piece of yoga. There's many different facets of yoga, and there's breath work, there's meditation, lots of pieces. So the asana or the movement is just one piece, and I have several gentle practices that are really great if you've never tried it or don't think that it's for you because it requires flexibility, and it doesn't. It's so exciting. If you can breathe, you can practice yoga.
Wow, that's awesome. So are these exercises on your website, Dr. Veronica?
I have them on my YouTube channel. You can Google my name. You can see it on the bottom of the screen here, and you should find my YouTube channel. I also have the yoga videos linked through my website, which is www.prairiefirerx.com.
Awesome. We'll have to check that out.
Yeah, I hope that all of you will give them a try, and I hope you find a new movement practice that you love. What are your favorite food related tips for your patients who are working on their heart health?
Usually I usually tell my patient to look at the label of whatever they buy in. And sometimes we show them how to read the label because, a lot of time, things can be very misleading. It will say something along the line of, low calories or, but then it's have a huge amount of sugar in it. So, things like that. But that's the first thing I usually tell my patient to look at the label of what they're buying.
That's a great tip. And I'll add to that, read the label and look at the ingredients. I like to encourage my patients to try and buy foods that have 5 ingredients or less. And that's because if it has fewer ingredients, that means that it's more natural, it's a whole food, and you know more of what you're putting into your body. If it has a long list of ingredients, that means there's chemicals and additives and flavors and preservatives, all of these things that we don't want to put in our bodies. And an easy way to avoid preservative, artificial color, artificial sweeteners is to buy things with a really short list and make sure everything on that list is something that you can pronounce, that you recognize, and that you would cook with in your own kitchen.
That's a great tip.
Thank you. Real foods are so much better for us than anything that's processed or packaged. If it has a shelf life, if it can sit on the shelf for years and years, it's not easy for our bodies to digest, and it's not ideal. We want to be eating as many fresh fruits and vegetables as possible because those have plant nutrients, antioxidants, and vitamins, minerals, enzymes. The plants have all of these extra chemicals that benefit our body in a synergistic way.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I would also avoid processed food because they seem to have they pack a lot of sodium, a lot of salt in those processed food, and that's definitely not good for a heart healthy diet.
Yes, when we get too much salt, then we start to hold excess water in our body. And if we're not able to get rid of that excess water, then that increases our blood pressure and increases the amount of stress on our hearts. So when we eat processed and packaged foods, we're getting, I want to say hundreds of times. I need to do the math on it, but it is a ridiculous amount of sodium, one that we would never get just by using the salt shaker at home. And those really high concentrations of salt are to preserve the food. Think of beef jerky. You know how salty that is? All that salt keeps the meat from spoiling. And we need those really high levels of salt to preserve the food, but it's not good to eat preserved foods all the time. Eat those things in moderation.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting with salt. We generally recommend a low sodium diet for our patients. So less than, is it 2000 milligrams a day?
I think so.
Don't quote me on this. I need to go look it up again.
Maybe a little bit less.
So low sodium diet, if your physician has recommended it, go with that. But there's a very small percentage of people that need a little bit more sodium. They respond better and have better blood pressure regulation when they get 2 teaspoons of salt per day. And that's just a genetic uniqueness. It's not going to be all of us, but there are some patients who benefit from getting a little bit more salt than others. And sodium is a really important electrolyte that helps with the electrical circuitry in your heart that makes the muscles do their job. So some of us need more, small percentage of us. So talk
I
to your
gotcha.
and find out if you're one of those people, if you're not responding well to the low sodium diet.
Absolutely.
What other changes have we not talked about? So we've talked about food and we've talked about movement. What other pieces are really important for heart health?
I would say stress management.
Yes, I would absolutely agree. Sometimes I think stress is at the root of all illness because stress is driving a vicious cycle of increasing our blood pressure and increasing our blood sugar, which contributes to the wear and tear on our heart and the hardening of the arteries. So
Yes, absolutely.
what are your best stress management tips?
Well, I usually tell my patient to, try to focus on something positive when they are stressed out. For example, if they are stressed out at work, so maybe they need to think about something happy at home, maybe the pets, maybe the kids, something to keep their mind off of the stress factors just for a few minutes, but it does seem to help a lot.
I love that. Focusing on the positive and being grateful. I find gratitude practices really help
Yes.
to help people change their perspective and see the good instead of focusing on the bad. And those gratitude journals and gratitude practices help enrich that. I-
Yes,
You said
absolutely. Pets, yes,
pets. Yes. So petting an animal can lower your blood pressure.
because make your body produce oxytocin.
Hmm. Yep. The love molecule. And hugs
Yes.
increase our serotonin, which boost our feel-good hormones that can help relieve stress. So physical touch is really, really good for us. So go pet a cat or a dog if you're a cat or dog person, hug a human, find a way to get some physical connection because that's really important for our nervous system to rebalance the chemical messengers that relate to our blood pressure.
Yes, that's a very good tip. And then, even, find a hobby, keep your mind off the work. Just find something that, make your heart sing when you want to do it.
Yes. And so if it's not work, if you're doing work that maybe just pays the bills, be sure that you have a hobby or a place to volunteer or some place that you love that makes your heart sing, because that is so, so important to have purpose.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
The stats say that the picture of our health, 40% of that is related to our social and economic factors in our lives. 10% is related to our physical environment. 20% is the healthcare that we receive, and 30% is our healthy behaviors. But our social and economic stressors really have a huge impact. They account for 40% of our total health picture. So, any of those things that you can do to help with the stressors in your life can make a big difference on moving the needle on your health, since they weigh in more than anything else.
Yeah, it seemed to affect us a lot,
Mm-hmm. And don't
all
get
of us.
discouraged. I think it's easy to think, oh, it doesn't matter if I do this one thing, but we have found that even our patients who are overweight, to the point of maybe even being obese, they have better health outcomes and longer lives if they engage in healthy habits around the foods that they eat and the way that they move their body. It still benefits them, even if they don't move the needle on the scale and they don't see weight loss with what they're doing. Research shows that these people are still healthier and they still live longer than people who are not engaging in any healthy habits. So don't be discouraged. All of it counts and it does matter. And look for non-scale victories. That's something that we use when we're talking about weight loss, but I think it's important when we're talking about our heart health too, is maybe we're not moving the particular health measure that we want. Like weight is a big one. Reducing your weight by 5 to 10% can have a huge impact on your blood pressure. But don't get discouraged if you don't see that weight loss right away, because the changes that you're making still matter and they're still going to give you better outcomes later.
Exactly, exactly. I usually think, if we love our body, and that actually will translate into a better health, better lifestyle just because we love our body.
Mm-hmm. And our body hears our thoughts and responds to it. Every cell in our body responds to our thoughts, and our thoughts help to create our chemical messengers. And we can improve the quality of our chemical messengers by choosing the quality of our thoughts. And it takes practice, but we can definitely influence our body chemistry with our mind. There's a woman named Candace Pert. She wrote an amazing book called The Molecules of Emotion. And she says the body is the subconscious mind.
Very interesting.
So when we can work on bringing those subconscious thoughts to the conscious so that we can then change them, we can have a huge impact on our health.
Yes, and then it's like if we can change our thoughts, that make us happier. So it's also make us more amenable to making changes to make our bodies better in a way. It's like a two-way street.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Very good. Well, can you think of anything else we should talk about for heart health this week?
Um, we already talked about stress and diet and movement and eating well. That's all I can think of. Do you have anything else to add?
Not today, but we'll be back next week and we'll have some more heart healthy tips for you. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.